Good evening, America. We welcome all of our regular participants tonight, Justice Waters, Governor Henning, David Hertler, Representative Binder, and others as we join together and continue what we started last week. Basically, it will be on a format and intended as a grand jury proceeding within the Republic. And last week we had retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Sandy Mariucci on. She'd been fighting this battle, and we all had been participating with her and supporting her. So we found out on Thursday there was a ruling from a federal judge, I believe it was in Ohio. They put a temporary stay on this forced vaccination, quote unquote, of the Air Force, which is kind of interesting. They just singled out the Air Force. But nevertheless, indicators that when we the people come together, we have power. And the Constitution and the Republic for which it stands is our meeting grounds. And so thank you, gentlemen, for joining with us. Justice Waters, what say you about our major victory?
Well, Governor, it only goes to show that it doesn't take a big mass of people to get something done. When you open your mouth and you speak truth, and truth comes out, truth will always prevail. And in this case, I don't know how the paperwork, how the wordage got to this judge, but somehow this judge figured out the people knew what was going on, and he knew he had no choice but to act on our behalf. And that's what judges are there for. They're there to work for the people. So he did his job. It may just be a stay for right now, but what that's going to do, it's giving other people time to look into this. There may be other charges coming to some people before this thing is over with. So, I thank God for it, and I thank everybody that contributed into it. It wasn't one person. It was a group of people down through the ranks and through the chain of command that got this thing accomplished. And it just goes to show when people put their minds together with one accord for one cause, the job can get done and be completed.
Thank you, Justice Waters. So my hat's off to you, the American people, and everyone that stood on the side of liberty and justice for all. Truth and the justice will prevail as long as good men and women stand up and see that that's carried forth. Justice Waters, what's our next case that we're going to hear tonight, sir?
Well, Governor, tonight we're going to go into some really deep stuff. It's nothing that the people across America haven't heard about. But like I said before, people hear a little bit here, a little bit there, and they really never put everything together. And once you put it together and you get the picture of what's going on, sometimes it can literally blow your mind. Tonight, we're going to talk about conspiracy. Conspiracy against the people, conspiracy against the Constitution, conspiracy against their oath of office. The first thing I want to do is I want to say hello to everybody out there across America. We thank you for joining because what we're going to talk about tonight is very serious. I'm going to read first from the Constitution itself, Article 2, Section 1, Paragraph 8 states, and I quote, "Before he enter on the execution of his office," talking about the president, "he shall take the following oath or affirmation. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States, and I will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States." Now, I want you to know that Joe Biden took that oath in January of last year. Article 4, Section 4. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of the legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. Now, let me explain something to the people. What is the Constitution? Is it a document put together by a bunch of people that, just were in a hurry and they weren't sure what they were writing? Was it Nazis that put it together? Was it atheists that put it together? No. These were God-fearing people. They loved the God of heaven. They quoted Scripture daily in their letters to each other. This republic is in possession of those letters. And there's not just one or two, there are hundreds of them. This Constitution was written by a group of people who had had enough of England, who have had enough of tyranny, and did not ever want to see that again. They had a form of government, but it wasn't working. So they came up with this. And what it is, it starts out with 4 very special words. We the people do. The Constitution is not something that the government wrote to the people. The Constitution is what the people tells the government. The power in the republic belongs to the people. The authority belongs to the people. And the Constitution is a set of orders given from the people to the government on what their limit of power is, what they can do, what they cannot do. It's not a document to be trashed and thrown around lightly. It's a set of orders. And in our type of government in the republic, if you do not follow orders, you go to jail. It's that simple. Because in combat, you don't follow orders, people die. In this case with the Constitution, if you break the law and not follow it, people can die and be hurt, families can be broken apart, businesses can crash, the economy can go under. But hey, that'll never happen, right? It's America. Well, let's look. Conspiracy. What is conspiracy? Conspiracy is when 2 or more act on something, and not always conspiracy is bad. Sometimes conspiracy can be good because it is an act of 2 individuals trying to get something accomplished or fulfilled or done. When 2 people start a business, that's a good thing, but it's still conspiracy. They conspired with each other in the letter of the law to do something. But that was good. They did not break the law. But when you conspire to go against the law for personal gain, that is not good. That is bad. You are breaking the law. What law? Well, in this case, the law of the Constitution, the highest form of law in this nation. The Constitution even has a name for it. It's called treason. What's the crime? What do you really have to do to commit conspiracy? So you go to what they refer to as U.S. Code, Title 18, Section 241. It reads, if 2 or more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district in the free exercise of enjoyment of any right or privilege secured to him by the Constitution or the laws of the United States, or of because of his having so exercised the same, or if two or more persons go in disguise on the highway or on the premise of another with intent to prevent or hinder his free exercise of enjoyment of any right or privilege so secured, they shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. And if death results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include kidnapping or the attempt to kidnap, aggravated assault and abuse, or the attempt to commit aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to kill, they shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for the term of years for life or both, and or may be sentenced to death. Done June 25th, 1948. Why was that year important? Because the Nuremberg trials were over just a year before. The Nazi trials. But then we also have Section 242. I want you to listen to the words of this. This is not me or the Republic saying this. This is what they, the corporation, says. Okay? Whoever, under color of any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom, willfully subjects any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunity secured and protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or to different punishments, pains, or penalties on the account of such person being an alien or by reason of his color or race, than are protected for the punishment of citizens, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both, and if bodily injury results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include the use, attempted use, or threatened use of a dangerous weapon, explosives, or fire, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. And if death results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include kidnapping or the attempt to kidnap, aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to commit aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to kill, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for any term of years for life or both, or may be sentenced to death. June 25th, 1948. Now, it's important to understand the wordage there. Section 242 tells us that if you go out and conspire against, say, a co-op in Iowa, and you set it afire and it blows up, and 3 people die, you can be sentenced to death just for that act. You conspired against, and then you fulfilled the act. Now, it's said by we the people that President Joe Biden is standing side by side with the Chinese Communist Party, that they are both together in conspiracy against the American people. The definition of conspiracy requires 2 or more people to have thought up something wrote it down, filmed it, or put it on video, or draw out their plan to be carried out, then attempt to fulfill it in some way on some day. Once the plan is put into motion, it is no longer just a conspiracy, but now it is an action with intent. Conspiracy is not always bad, like I said before. But when you conspire to break existing laws, codes, or statutes, then conspiracy becomes evil and bad. When leaders of the nation do so against their own people, it becomes a horrible thing to do. Like when Joe Biden released oil from the strategic oil supply, and lots of barrels found their way to China, who is a standing enemy of the nation and of the American people. That's not only treason, but that is actually conspiracy to commit treason. Can you imagine in World War II, Eisenhower getting permission from the president to give oils that belong to our troops for tanks and jeeps and trucks? Just go ahead and give it to the Nazis. That's what Biden just did. The only difference is we're not in armed conflict, but we are in conflict. It's called fentanyl. We're going to get into that. If Joe Biden can get the nation on a national emergency status, then bring fear to the average American, then pose a mandate, then arrest those who don't follow the mandates, what do you have? Under law, it's considered tyranny. Do you know that in America, in just the last 18 months, now I want you to know what I'm saying here, the last year and a half since Biden has been in office, not Trump, Biden, 137 meat plants have been blown up or burnt to the ground. 171 farms and farm animals have exploded or burnt to the ground. 96 grain co-ops in storage just in Iowa have been destroyed. 117 independent-owned stores, like these gas stations that have the food pantry, they've been destroyed by fire. Walmart distribution centers across the country, 68 of them. Do you know how big those places are? How much food is stored in them? 68 of those warehouses, storehouses, have been burnt to the ground. 21 fertilizer plants have blown up in America in the last 18 months. A total of 610 types of businesses that deal with food, oil, and gas have been destroyed. Now, I know that there are moments in time where explosions take place in a fertilizer plant. We've all seen them on the news. They happen maybe once every 10, 12 years. How do you get 21 of them in a year and a half? Is all those accidents? Is all the meat plants getting blown up? Is that all accidents? Well, the fire departments in the local districts, they say it's not. It's arson. Really. The food supply of this country is being strategically dwindled down and destroyed by somebody. There's no doubt that the Chinese have a part to get Biden to play along with their scheme. I mean, after all, Joe and Hunter Biden, they have conspired against the American people by using America's wealth and giving it to China. And as we will see in the weeks to come, with other crimes against the American people, conspiracy is a crime that requires or more. We have crimes where there are a whole lot more than just 2 or 3. Hunter Biden has called his stepmother, Jill, names. He's called her the C name, if you know what I mean. He's in cahoots with China as a way of making money. He went to the Ukraine. Now, I want you to understand something about Hunter Biden. This is not your normal, everyday American boy. This guy decided he was going to join the Navy. So he did. One day he got popped on a P test. I've taken many of them. They don't tell you when it's happening. They just say the last 3 to 4 numbers of your number, your Social Security popped up. You got to go take a P test. You got 15 minutes to get to where you got to go to do it. He failed. He got dishonorably discharged. Bad conduct discard. That means you don't get jobs. You can't really do anything out here in the public arena because you're a bad boy. If the government doesn't want you working for them, then nobody else does either. So what does he do? The first thing he does, he goes to the Ukraine. He gets a job on Burisma. Now, that is a partially Ukrainian-owned natural gas company that's very corrupt at the time. They were stealing money from the people of Ukraine. And Joe Biden was vice president under Obama. And Hunter goes to the Ukraine and gets a job. Now get this, making $50,000 to $75,000 a month. While he is there, he brings in the Secretary of Defense of the United States, introduces him to the Ukrainian president. They talk, and the next year, the Department of Defense in with the Ukraine, and of course, the Biden family are getting kickbacks. Now, you got to remember, this was when Joe Biden went to the Ukraine as vice president, and they were holding an investigation on Burisma and especially on Hunter Biden. And Joe Biden goes to the second in charge of Ukraine and tells that guy, you're not going to get the billions of dollars the government wants to give you until you stop that investigation. I'm leaving in 6 hours. Well, they fired the investigator so they could get the money. And the investigation never continued. They got their money. Trump makes one phone call to the president of Ukraine, and he gets impeached because of it. It wasn't the phone call, folks. It was the fact that they were about to uncover the corruptness of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. And they couldn't stand that. So they stopped it. Why were they in cahoots? Because out of that meeting came the format and the legalization in the Ukraine and over 300 billion U.S. tax dollars to build 18 biolabs on the Ukrainian-Russian border, all set up by a meeting with Hunter Biden. Now maybe you have a little better understanding of why Russia invaded Ukraine. Now you understand why Joe Biden is more concerned with the borders of Ukraine than he is of his own country right here in the good old USA. He doesn't care anything about the borders here, but boy, the borders in Ukraine, we're sending billions of dollars over there to keep that going. Now remember the laptop. Hunter's on the run. He drops this laptop off into a repair shop. The guy opens it up and starts to see what's there. And there's Hunter Biden, naked, sometimes in bed with 5 and 6 women, smoking crack, bragging about it. Overseas in Europe, where he's got, $8,000-$10,000 a night hookers, bragging about it. And then they discover the one that's probably the most hideous of them all. He's in Hong Kong, and he's there in bed with the highest price hookers of the Chinese Communist Party, partying with them. And out of that comes a business. That business is called Seneca Global Advisors. Now, it's stationed here in the U.S., but it's financed by the CCP. How does that work? Hunter Biden goes to China in 2015 and gets all buddy-buddy with the president of the Communist Party, and they set him up with a business in China and give him money to come over here. And while he's making all this money from these businesses, China is paying Biden, that's Hunter, billions of dollars. Well, that gets funneled through Hunter to the big boy, Daddy. That'd be Joe. How is it the Vice President of the United States, who makes $230,000 a year, make over $30 million in 6-7 years? How is that? What does a guy have to do to make that kind of money in that limited time when his salary is only $230,000 a year? Mind you, the Constitution says he cannot take gifts or any kind of payments from anybody else. He broke laws. He conspired with his son, Hunter, to break laws. While in China, Hunter builds a business that is a financial business that is giving loans to third world nations. Now get this. When Uganda says we need our infrastructure done, but we don't have the money, China knocks on the door and says, hey, we'll give you what you need. And Hunter, with his business inside the Communist Party, loans them $30-40 billion. They only need 10, but they loan them a lot more than what they need. So while the infrastructure is getting completed, well, here comes China saying, hey, we want our money. Well, we can't pay you. Okay, so China begins to move in troops. They defaulted. Uganda is now China's next nation. Right now, 21 nations in Africa are owned and operated by the Chinese Communist Party through financial dealings. Chile, Venezuela, they're all the same way. The point is they want the United States But the only way to get to the United States is to have us fall. We got to go down. They don't want to destroy the land. It's the land they want. So how do you do that? Well, how about this? Here's an easy way. Americans love to smoke their crack and have their street drugs. How about we make a drug that is so deadly but looks like a lot of other drugs, and we'll ship it in through the southern border, and we'll make it so cheap for people because there's so many of them, the average guy can afford it, but it kills them. I mean, they take it, and 3 minutes later, their parents are having to start their funeral procession. Oh, that'll never happen in America. Trump's got the border shut. Yeah, he did. Till Biden came in. Now, regardless of what you think about Joe Biden and how he became president, the fact remains he walked into the presidency, and the first thing he did was shut down the oil pipes, the pipelines, no oil flow at all coming into the U.S., and then he opened up the southern border. Now, I'm going to tell you what, that is a deliberate act because he's in conspiracy with the Chinese president. It's the only way to get the fentanyl into the country. The fentanyl is flowing. We have 900,000 people in this country, so says the Border Patrol, that nobody knows where they're at. 900,000. How many of those people are terrorists, Chinese government agents, Russian agents, cartel people that are out to kill you, the American people, because China wants the land. And the only way to get it is to get Trump out of office and get somebody else in there that'll work with China to do so. And you see, China owns the Biden family. They're compromised. We can prove it. There's video after video after video that shows the proof. But MSNBC, they are in conspiracy with the Biden family. CNN, they're in conspiracy with the Biden family. ABC, NBC, CBS, they're all in conspiracy. They hide these things. Remember the last election? Twitter, Facebook, anything to do with Biden got shut down immediately. Oh, you could say go F Trump, that'd be okay. The Iranian people can say kill America, that's okay. Biden stole the election, boy, you're gone. It's like you just committed the highest crime you could. So Zuckerberg is in conspiracy with the Biden family. They're all in conspiracy and they all need to be charged. You, the people, put this republic in power. I will promise you, I will guarantee you that within the first 180 days, every one of these players will either be behind bars or they'll be in the ground. One or the other. That I can guarantee you. Because we will get the patriots of this nation to go out and look for these people. But we have to be in power first. We have to be the ones that are running this awful government and turn it around and clean this nation up. And we can only do that with your help. It takes you, the people, to do that. Because there are multiple charges that we, the people, are going to bring up against the Biden administration, the Obama administration, the Bush administration, on down the line. And let's not forget the Clintons. We have the proof. All we have to do is have the judges look at it. But we can't do that in their system. We have to have the republic form of government, like the Constitution says. Joe Biden took an oath to defend that Constitution. He pees on it every morning. Let's get real. He uses it to wipe with. He don't care about the Constitution. The only thing he cares about is his bank account. And it needs to stop. There's only one way that can happen. You, the people, need to put your government in position to deal with this. Because if we don't, and we don't do it quick, there won't be a government or a United States for us to do it. Because China is in Mexico, and they're in Canada, and they're waiting on the word. And if you think I'm kidding you, we're going to get into that next week. I hope and I pray it never comes to that. But we have to warn you, the people, because this nation is not just a government. This nation is you, the people. It's you that have the voice. It's you that have the authority, and it's you that have the power. And that Constitution comes from you, and it tells them in D.C. what they can and cannot do. They got it reversed. They're telling you, the people, what you can and cannot do, and that's got to stop. There's only one way we can do that. Just one. And that's to put this Republican form of government back in authority. And that, my friend, is what we need from you.
Well said, Justice Waters. You know, this is a government formed by the people. This is the people's chance that are listening and that listen later to get involved. Justice Waters, was that your indictment against President Biden then tonight?
Yes, it is, and it's just the part of conspiring to commit crimes. We will be getting into the actual crimes, and we will show in later weeks the actual crimes that have been committed. So this kind of sets the stage for that.
Okay, so this is just a prelude to what's coming up then. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, you can call it the opening statement.
The opening statement, okay. Governor Henning, would you like to introduce people to the Republic and tell them how they can get involved and have their rightful inheritance back?
Thank you, Governor Carpenter. America, you know, our founding fathers had a vision for America. You know, it was never the intent of the founding fathers for American people to be governed by force, instead by the consent of the governed, but that's exactly where we find ourselves today. The American people find themselves surrounded by an unmanageable mountain of so-called laws and mandates that were not written for their benefit, but for the benefit of our oligarchs in control. The American people have lost confidence in the current government's ability to govern lawfully and peacefully. It's past time to implement the Northwest Ordinance to reset America's republic. So you go to republicforunitedstatesofamerica.org. You can read the vision of our forefathers. That was a press release written in June of 2022 by President Geiger, and I just read a short paragraph from that. You can go to Dave and Gene Hertler's books. Re-Inhabited Volume 1 is the truthful history of America. That you can understand why America needs to be brought back to the lawful, peaceful, re-inhabited republic. And Volume 2 is Re-Inhabited Republic for United States of America, Volume 2, the story of the re-inhabitation, again written by Dave and Gene Hertler. And let's not forget that James Timothy Turner, our founding president, the restoration president of America's republic, he put it all on the line for America. He's been incarcerated. And Gene has written a book. It's called James Timothy Turner, an American President and a Political Prisoner. And it's a legal brief and appeal to the courts of heaven. That book can also be ordered at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com or reinhabitedrepublic.com. Go to republicforunitedstatesofamerica.org. There you can read the Declaration of Sovereign Intent, Proclamation of Claim of Interest, and you can understand what has been done for you, all the American people, we the people. It's been done lawfully and peacefully. It's been filed on the world courts, The Hague. It's been given to world leaders, military leaders over these years. There's been warrants served on all 50 governors here in America. That warrant was issued. You can read that warrant at republicforunitedstatesofamerica.org. And let's not forget the Holy Bible. Our founding fathers used that for a biblical law form here in America. They gleaned the Constitution of the United States of America circa 1860. They've written the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. Use that Bible to use the living Word of God to help you through the daily stress and the concerns here in America and around the world. That is our God's living Word is in writing. But America, it's time to educate yourself, and it's time to stand up. It's time to educate yourself and take control of this great American republic that our forefathers left for us to protect and enjoy. We are holding your seats and the title to America's republic. You just need to want it back. Take ownership of your part and spread the word, America. It's time. It's way past time. We the people need to be standing together firmly. Stand your ground.